Okay, great. So how do you know you're ready to start a private practice, right? So there's a few things that you should ask yourself, right? This is sort of like a cheat sheet at navigating that area, because a lot of us get to that area. We may have the credentials, we may have the education, but we're just not ready to take the plunge. Or we want to, and we are kind of ready, but we're not sure, right? So the first thing you want to ask yourself, do you have an LCSW, LCSWR, LMHC, LMFT, PsyD, PhD, or an LMSW, or an MHCLP, or any of the other limited permits that may have been granted to you if you're not fully licensed yet. If your answer is yes to any of those, and there are some other credentials as well, but if your answer is yes to any of those, then you're at the place where, at least in terms of your education and credentialing, you can technically start a private practice. If you have a limited permit, you might need a little bit of additional help in terms of a supervisor who would work with you in a very specific way to make sure that you can go ahead and start. But if you have those, again, LCSW, LCSWR, LMHC, LMFT, PsyD, PhD, LMSW, or MHCLP, then guess what? You have the education and credentials to start. That's the question one. Question two, have you ever provided therapy or counseling before? If you've provided therapy or counseling in your roles within an organization or in someone else's private practice, within a school setting, hospital setting, mental health setting, even a church, even church counseling for those of us who have been employed, within churches in some way. If you've provided therapy or counseling before, then that's number two. Yes, it's very likely that you're ready, right? Number three, would you be interested in earning more, right? So private practice earnings at the lowest end of the scale, and this is if you really are okay with accepting the lowest paying insurance or working out of pocket with with clients who are paying out of pocket who don't have a lot of funds to pay with. So the pay rate, at the very lowest end is $60 an hour, which, let's see if we calculate that, right? So $60 an hour times, let's say 35 hours a week, that's 2,100 a week. We multiply that by 50 weeks a year, because we're going to take at least 2 weeks off, you're looking at 105,000 a year in terms of income, right? Now, obviously there are expenses, but there are ways to keep those expenses nice and low. And also you can have to think about paying your taxes, right? So that's, something that you're also going to have to think about. And I have some information on that I'm more than happy to share with people. So it's 105,000 a year on the low end, right? And again, that's at $60 payment rate that you get from some of the lowest paying insurances and clients who are paying out of pocket. Two, let's be super reasonable and say $175 is going to be our highest rate that we possibly charge. So we'll do that. 35 clients a week. That's 6,125 a week times, again, 50 weeks. You're taking at least 2 weeks off. You're looking at income of $306,250 per year. So are you ready to bring that sort of income into your life, whether it's a full-time private practice like those numbers would be, or do you just want to tack on 20, 30, 40, 50, 60,000 a year on top of what you're already earning, which you could do on weekends or evenings, a couple evenings per week? So are you ready and are you interested in earning more money, right? If the answer is yes, then you're definitely in the right place. Are you willing to do the work, right? So the work of building your practice, advertising, setting up a bank account, managing client notes that it will take to build a private practice. It's going to take work. Of course, there are experts that can help you along the way, but this is going to take some work on your part. Even the people who take my course, who, and I walk them through the process or do coaching with me, again, walking them through the process, it's still a lot of work on your end. You're still going to have to put in that footwork and you're going to have to do things, even if the information is handed to you. So if you answered yes to those questions, then you are definitely in the right place, right? So when you're building your private practice, there are multiple areas that you need to cover. There are lots of things that you have to do. 3 key areas